Loki and I across the ocean, a wondrous journey, an unlikely friendship, and an unforgettable farewell. Part 1. The Dawn of an Adventure. Hello everyone, my name is Jeykie, an Asian guy living by the sea, where every morning my dog Loki and I start the day with the scent of salt and the sound of waves. Loki is a smart and agile Shino, with snow-white fur like sea foam and eyes that always shine as if trying to tell something to the world. That morning was just like any other, but I had no idea it would be the beginning of an unforgettable journey, an adventure deep under the vast ocean, where mystery and danger go hand in hand with breathtaking beauty. Mist still lingered, and the sun had just risen halfway above the crimson horizon. I checked my gear: nets, diving tools, cloth bag for trash, seafood containers, and a few pieces of bait Loki absolutely loved. I tapped lightly on the boat's bow and called out, "Let's go, Loki. Today, we'll land a big haul." Loki leapt onto the deck, barked in agreement, and wagged his tail wildly. The wooden motorboat roared to life and glided out to sea, leaving behind a trail of silver waves and a sky gradually glowing brighter. The sea was eerily calm that day. I dropped anchor at a familiar reef I often visited early in the morning. But this time, what caught my eye wasn't crabs or small fish, but a massive shadow beneath the crystal clear water. I grabbed my dive scope, put on my goggles, took a deep breath, and plunged into the water. Loki stood on the deck, watching my every move like a true teammate. Underwater, I was stunned. A dolphin was tangled in an old nylon net, struggling desperately. I swam closer, carefully cutting through each thick knot with my diving knife so it wouldn't panic further. When I freed the final piece, it swam a full circle around me in gratitude before disappearing into the blue depths. I surfaced, gasping for air, and Loki barked loudly as if celebrating our first success. "We're not done yet, Loki. There's still more work to do." I dove again, this time venturing farther. I discovered an entire coral area smothered in plastic bags, straws, bottles, and even a broken plastic chair abandoned in the reef. Overwhelmed, I tapped the signal on my dive watch to notify Loki on the boat, then started collecting each piece of trash, stuffing them into my cloth bag. Soon after, I found a young sea turtle with a fishing line tightly wrapped around its leg. It couldn't swim, just floated weakly in the water. My heart clenched. I swam quickly, removed the line from its body, and gently stroked its shell to calm it. It looked at me with grateful eyes, then slowly swam away, but not far. It circled around me, as if realizing I wasn't a threat. Seahorses, otters, even a manatee. I couldn't believe I encountered so many creatures, all trapped by just one thing: plastic waste. I gathered trash until my bag was completely full, then surfaced. Loki helped pull it up, and I wrung the water from my hair, sitting back to catch my breath. "We're doing the right thing, Loki. The ocean needs someone to help it." While Loki rested beside me, I dropped bait into the sea. In less than an hour, I had caught 3 lobsters the size of my forearm, 2 golden-shelled king crabs, and a tuna weighing about 4 kilograms. A seafood feast was waiting for us ahead. I turned to Loki and laughed. This afternoon, we're heading to that deserted island to grill all this, and who knows? We might just encounter something even more magical. Loki simply looked at me, tongue out, barking softly, as if he already knew this journey was going to be longer and more wondrous than I imagined. Part 2. Feast on the deserted island and the first hint of mystery. The small motorboat raced toward the familiar deserted island amid howling wind and descending sunlight. The sea reflected golden hues like it had been bathed in honey. Loki sat at the bow, ears perked up in the breeze, eyes fixed on the water, where our ocean friends swam alongside. Yes, we weren't returning alone. Behind us were dolphins, sea turtles, seahorses, and the little otter I had rescued that morning. They stayed close to the boat like old friends, without ropes or calls, simply companions. Once we landed, I chose a soft sandy spot between rustling coconut trees and dark rocks, starting a fire with dry twigs and seaweed. Loki ran around, chasing a small crab before returning and wagging his tail, ready to eat. Lobsters sizzled red on the coals. King crabs crackled as their shells split open. The tuna was skewered on a bamboo stick, angled above the flames for even roasting. Loki and I sat by the fire, plates made of banana leaves piled high with savory seafood. Loki devoured his share with the excitement of never having eaten before. And for me, just one bite of lobster dipped in chili salt washed away all the day's fatigue. Then, something magical happened. A sea turtle crawled ashore, hesitantly approaching. I tossed a few pieces of fish toward it, and to my surprise, it ate. Bit by bit. The dolphins couldn't come up, but they leaped out of the water repeatedly as if joining the party. The otter rolled in the sand, then dived down, emerged with a few clams, and placed them on a rock in front of me. A true feast, where humans and marine creatures shared a meal, wordless, yet full of understanding. After the meal, the sun was almost gone. I cleaned up the fire pit, emptied cooled ashes into a safe rock hollow, and looked out to sea. Loki, ready to go on? He barked loudly, sprinting toward the boat like a white arrow. I fired up the engine, and we sped into the dark blue night. Moonlight shimmered on the water, the gentle waves reflecting its glow like countless floating lanterns. I didn't know what drove me to keep going. Maybe intuition or a call from deep below. But when we reached the exact coordinates, a place I had marked last year after detecting faint sonar signals, I felt something different. I dropped anchor, put on my diving gear, and said to Loki, "This time I'm going deeper. If you see a distress signal, sound the horn. I trust you." He looked at me seriously, then lay flat near the cabin, a position that was anything but restful. I dived in. The water grew deeper, colder, and then darkness. But in that darkness, a shape began to appear. Rusted, ancient, covered in moss. A ship. No, a massive warship, sunk deep in silence. I swam around the hull, shattered windows, blown-out steel doors. A storage bay opened up, revealing metal statues, decaying wooden crates, and a flickering light coming from a translucent orb in the center of the room. I touched it. A faint electric current surged through my hand. Suddenly, images flashed in my mind. Sea charts, strange symbols, visuals of gigantic marine creatures never seen before. I jerked my hand back. In that instant, my wrist flashlight shone on a tube-shaped object along the ship's side. USS Sea Leviathan, a research vessel lost more than 50 years ago. I knew this trip was no longer about catching seafood. I swam back up, breath racing, heart pounding like a drum. Loki barked loudly as soon as I surfaced. I pulled myself onto the boat, looked at him and smiled. "Loki, I've just discovered something no one's ever known. A secret of the ocean, and we're going back." Let me know if you'd like me to continue translating the next part. Part 3, Deep Night, Unveiling the Shipwreck's Mystery. I couldn't sleep that night. The small boat gently rocked at anchor on the sea surface, while I lay back on the deck, eyes staring up at the starry sky. Loki lay beside me, his head resting on my arm, occasionally stirring as if he too couldn't sleep. Deep beneath the sea, the USS Sea Leviathan still lay there, shrouded in mysteries no one had yet uncovered. I murmured, "Tomorrow, Loki, we're going back, but not just to look, to truly discover." Before dawn, I was already awake, checking my air tank, dive lights, sample bag, and making sure to bring an underwater recording kit. I even strapped a small camera to Loki's collar. He would stay on the boat, watching and guarding like a loyal sentinel. Once we reached the exact spot, I plunged again into the dark waters. This time, I headed straight for the ship's central chamber. The same strange blue light from yesterday was still glowing from the translucent orb in the center of the room. I cautiously approached but didn't touch it this time. I pulled out a scanner, held it close, and the screen displayed a coded signal, 01XT Alpha. Before I could finish recording it, suddenly a sound came from behind. I turned around to see a dark shadow dart past. Not a fish, not a turtle. It had a human shape. I felt a chill down my spine. For a brief moment, I saw a blurry image of a man in an old-fashioned diving suit, 1960s style, appear outside the glass. His eyes, vacant. Then he vanished. I backed away, heart pounding. But logic pulled me forward. I drifted through the ship's compartments, the control room, where old moss-covered panels still had a few unrusted levers, the storage room, where open safes and seawater-soaked ancient maps lay scattered, and an archive room, where I found several wet film reels, their labels still visible. The Abyss Protocol. I carefully packed them into a waterproof bag and resurfaced just as my air gauge read 20%. Loki rushed over and licked my face repeatedly. I sat catching my breath, then burst out laughing. "Can you believe it, Loki? Someone might still be down there, or once was until their very last breath." We quickly ate some biscuits and dried fish, then steered the boat around the area to scan for more signals. But instead of finding more wrecks, we found creatures. A pair of massive blue whales swam near the surface, accompanied by herds of manatees, stingrays, and a giant octopus that rose between the waves, its eyes fixed on me. Strangely, it didn't seem aggressive. It stretched a tentacle and gently touched the side of the boat before submerging. Soon after, every creature I had rescued yesterday began to gather. Dolphins led the way, turtles swam alongside, and the otter leaped onto the bow to play with Loki. They weren't just following, they were guiding us. We followed the path the dolphins led us through, gliding into a coral corridor like a maze. And there, I saw the unimaginable. An underwater city, ruins of structures, stone pillars, archways, cracked domes, covered in coral and marine life. A place that once held life, civilization, or at least a secret experiment. On a rock wall, I saw a symbol that matched the glowing orb aboard the ship, a spiral surrounded by 3 concentric rings. I stared in silence for a long time. Then an old sea turtle swam toward me, carrying a piece of wood encrusted with coral. On it, a carved inscription, "Protect the ocean." We couldn't. I was speechless. Part 4, the second day's sunset, the journey's end. That afternoon, the sea was so calm I could see every golden-orange ripple like an endless mirror. After leaving those mysterious ruins, Loki and I returned to our ship, not in silence, but flanked by the strangest escort I'd ever seen. The friends I had saved, now joining us for the final leg of our journey. I remember every moment clearly. The lead dolphin surged ahead like a scout, circling the boat as if to inspire us. The pair of sea turtles swam alongside each hull, diving to help retrieve bait every time I dropped nets for lobsters or tuna. The otter had become Loki's deck commander, the two of them inseparable, barking, diving, and climbing back up to play again. I carefully baited traps, cast lines, and waited. This time, in under 2 hours, I had the biggest haul ever. 5 fiery red lobsters, 3 thick-shelled king crabs like armored tanks, and 2 tuna the size of my thigh. At the same time, our large cloth bag was filled to the brim with plastic waste, straws, bottles, plastic bags, torn nets, collected by me and my ocean friends throughout the journey. Nothing was left behind. I made a vow to myself. No creature in this ocean should ever suffer another cut from what humanity discards. As the sun began to set, I steered the boat toward land. The journey was nearing its end, but my heart wasn't ready to say goodbye. We docked just as the sun touched the horizon. Loki ran to the deck, looked at me, then barked as if urging, "Look!" I turned around and was speechless. Behind me was a show beyond imagination. Dolphins leapt from the sea, spinning midair. Turtles beat their flippers on the surface, creating deep, resonant sounds. The pair of blue whales spouted water into glowing columns like fireworks from the ocean's heart. Seahorses twirled like a ballet troupe. The otter waved. And from afar, the giant octopus raised a high tentacle, as if to bid farewell. I stood at the bow, eyes stinging. No words could capture that feeling. A farewell not between man and beast, but between comrades, souls bound by a shared mission. Loki barked softly, ran a circle, then sat beside me. Neither of us spoke, only watched as each creature slowly disappeared into the misty waves like blue smoke over the ocean. I led Loki off the boat. Together we walked the white sandy path back to the seaside wooden house, where I had lived for years, where Loki had grown up, and now, where this story would live forever. Before closing the door, I turned once more to the sea, where the last rays of sunlight faded into a soft pink thread. I spoke softly, just loud enough for Loki to hear, and for the wind to carry the words away. "See you again, someday soon."